In a small South African village, where children learn math by scratching numbers in red dirt, a stranger makes a promise that sounds impossible. What Elon Musk and his famous son build for these brilliant children will launch them from poverty to the stars. Literally. This is the true story of how 32 children in Mamelodi East became humanity's next space pioneers. The red dust swirls like tiny tornadoes around the old Land Rover as it bounces down the rocky path into Mamelodi East. 8-year-old Thabo Nkosi looks up from his drawing in the dirt. He's been making shapes with a stick, circles and squares and triangles that look like the pictures in his grandmother's old math book. The car is different from the ones that usually come to their village. Most visitors drive small, dented cars or ride on motorcycles. This one is big and clean, even with all the dust. Thabo watches as a tall white man steps out. The man has gray hair that catches the morning sunlight. His clothes are nice, but not fancy. He looks around at the small houses made of tin sheets and red bricks. Some have proper roofs. Others, like Thabo's house, are covered with plastic sheets held down by old tires. The man's eyes are kind. That's the first thing Thabo notices. Not scared or sad like some visitors, just kind and curious. "Thabo," his grandmother Nomsa calls from their doorway. "Come inside now." But Thabo doesn't move. He wants to see what the stranger will do. Other children peek out from behind walls and doorways. Baby Sifo toddles toward the car before his mother scoops him up. The Mbeki twins, who are 10 years old, climb onto their roof to get a better look. Mrs. Dlamini hangs wet clothes on her line, but keeps glancing over. The village is quiet except for the sound of chickens clucking and Mr. Zungu's radio playing music somewhere down the path. Even the goats seem curious about the visitor. Nomsa walks slowly toward the stranger. She wipes her hands on her blue apron, the one with tiny flowers that Thabo gave her for her birthday. Her back is bent from years of carrying water and working in other people's gardens, but she holds her head high. "Good morning," the man says in Afrikaans first, then switches to English. His voice is gentle. "I'm looking for the school." Nomsa studies his face. In Mamelodi East, strangers usually want something. Sometimes they're from the government with papers and problems. Sometimes they're from churches with promises and prayers. This man feels different. "There," she says, simply, pointing down the dusty path with one weathered finger. Her English isn't perfect, but she understands well enough. "Thank you," the man says. He looks at Thabo, who is still holding his drawing stick. "What are you making there?" Thabo looks down at his shapes in the dirt. "Math," he says quietly. The man's eyebrows go up. "Math? Show me." Thabo glances at his grandmother. She nods slightly. "This is 10, Thabo says, pointing to a group of stones he's arranged. "And this is 5. He points to another group. "Together, they make 15. "That's very good," the man says, and Thabo can tell he really means it. "What's your name?" "Thabo Nkosi. I'm Errol," the man says. "Elon Musk." The name means nothing to Thabo, but he likes how the man kneels down to talk. To him, not standing tall like an adult talking down to a child. Errol follows the path Nomsa showed him. The school is just one room made of concrete blocks. The walls are painted yellow, but the paint is old and peeling. The roof has holes that let in both sunlight and rainwater. There are no real windows, just open spaces covered with clear plastic, sheets that flap in the wind. Through the doorway, Errol can see children sitting on the concrete floor. Their ages look mixed, some as young as 6, others maybe 12 or 13. They're all crowded together in the small space. He counts them. 32 children sharing the room. Their teacher, Mrs. Radabe, stands at the front. She's young, maybe 25, with bright eyes and a patient voice. She's drawing numbers on a piece of cardboard with a black marker. "Good morning," Errol says from the doorway. Mrs. Radabe looks up, surprised. The children turn to stare at the stranger. "Good morning, sir. Can I help you?" "I hope so. I'm just visiting your village. I was curious about the school." Mrs. Radabe glances at her students, then back at Errol. "Please, come in. Children, say good morning to our visitor." "Good morning," 32 voices call out together. Errol steps inside. The floor is swept clean, but he can see where children have been practicing their letters and numbers by scratching them into the concrete with stones and pieces of metal. There are 5 books in the entire room. 5 books for 32 children. No desks, no chairs, no computers, no proper blackboard. Just children sitting on a hard floor, eager to learn whatever Mrs. Radabe can teach them. "What are you working on today?" Errol asks. "Addition," Mrs. Radabe says, "but it's very difficult without proper supplies." Errol kneels down next to a girl who looks about 10 years old. She has bright, intelligent eyes, and her school uniform, a simple blue dress, is clean but patched in several places. "What's your name?" he asks. "Amara," she says shyly. "Can you show me what you're learning?" Amara points to marks she's scratched in the floor. 7 + 6 = 13, she says carefully. "That's exactly right. How did you figure that?" "Out?" Amara shows him how she counts on her fingers, then uses small stones to double-check her answer. Her method is clever and shows real understanding. As Errol moves around the room, he meets more children. There's Kofi, a 12-year-old boy who has drawn pictures of rockets in his notebook. When Errol asks about them, Kofi's eyes light up. "I want to build one someday," Kofi says. "A rocket that can go to the moon." "Why the moon?" Errol asks. "Because it's there," Kofi says simply. "And because no one from our village has ever been there." There's Naledi, who has taught herself to read by studying the few books over and over. There's Mandla, who builds small toys from wire and bottle, caps. There's Zuri, who asks endless questions about how everything works. Each child is different, but Errol sees something special in all of them. They're curious, they're smart, they want to learn, but they have almost nothing to learn with. At Isidri, the morning goes on. Errol watches the children work. They share pencil stubs that are too short to hold properly. They tear pages from old magazines to write on. They use bottle caps and stones for counting. And yet they're learning. Mrs. Radabe moves from child to child, patient and encouraging. The older children help the younger ones. Everyone pays attention. "Where did you go to school?" Errol asks Mrs. Radabe during a break. "University of Witwatersrand," she says proudly. "I studied education, but when I graduated, I could have taken a job in Johannesburg or Cape Town. I chose to come here instead." "Why?" She looks at her students, who are playing a quiet game with stones during their break. "Because these children are just as smart as any children anywhere. They just need someone to believe in them." Errol feels something stirring in his chest. These children remind him of someone. Someone who was once young and curious and full of dreams. They remind him of his son Elon. When school ends for the day, Errol walks back through the village with Thabo, who has attached himself to the visitor like a shadow. "Do you have children?" Thabo asks as they walk. "Yes," Errol says. "I have a son who's grown up now. He builds rockets and cars." "Real rockets?" Thabo's eyes go wide. very real rockets. Some of them go to space. Thabo stops walking. Space? Like where the stars are? Exactly like that. They reach Namsa's house. As the sun is getting low, she's cooking dinner over a small fire, mealy porridge and vegetables from her tiny garden. "Will you eat with us?" she asks Errol. Errol looks at the simple meal, at this grandmother who has so little but offers to share it with a stranger. "I would be honored," he says. As they eat together, sitting on wooden crates around the small fire, Thabo asks 1,000 questions about the world outside their village. "Have you ever seen a computer?" Thabo asks. "Yes, I have." "Have you?" Thabo shakes his head. "Mrs. Radibi told us about them. She said they can do magic." "Not magic," Errol says gently, "but something almost as wonderful. They can help you learn anything you want to know. They can help you talk to people anywhere in the world. They can help you solve problems and build things and explore ideas. Could I use one someday?" Thabo asks. Errol looks at this 8-year-old boy who draws math problems in the dirt and dreams of rockets. He thinks about all the brilliant children he met today, learning despite having so few resources. Something is changing in Errol's heart. A plan is forming in his mind. "Thabo," he says carefully, "what if I told you that computers are just the beginning? What if I told you that children like you could learn to build rockets and explore space and change the world?" "I'd say that. Sounds like a dream," Thabo replies. "Well," Errol says, standing up and looking at the stars that are beginning to appear in the darkening sky, "I think it's time some dreams came true." He turns to face Thabo, Namsa, and the other villagers who have gathered around their small fire. "I'm going to make you a promise," he says, his voice firm and clear. "I'm going back home tonight, but I'll be back, and when I come back, I'm bringing something that will change your lives forever." Thabo's eyes shine in the firelight. "Really? Really?" Errol says. "I promise." As Errol drives away that night, dust swirling behind his Land Rover, 32. Children in Mamelody East go to sleep thinking about rockets and computers and dreams that might actually come true. None of them know that the man who visited their school today is the father of one of the most famous inventors in the world. And none of them can imagine what that promise will lead to. But in a few weeks, they'll find out. 3 days after leaving Mamelody East, Elon Musk sits in his study in Pretoria. The room is filled with books about engineering and science. Model airplanes hang from the ceiling. Pictures of his children cover one wall. But tonight, he can't focus on anything except the faces of those children. Thabo, drawing math in the dirt with a stick. Amara, counting on her fingers to solve problems. Kofi sketching rockets in his notebook. All of them so smart, so eager to learn, with almost nothing to help them. Errol picks up his phone 3 times before finally dialing the number he knows by heart. The phone rings once, twice. On the 3rd ring, a familiar voice answers. "Dad?" Elon's voice comes through clearly from California. It's early morning there, and Errol can hear the sounds of SpaceX engineers working in the background. "Elon, I need to tell you about something," Errol begins. His voice sounds different than usual. More urgent. More emotional. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but I visited a village this week, a place called Mamelody East, outside Pretoria." Errol tells his son about the drive through the red dust, about finding the school, with 32 children sitting on a concrete floor. He describes Mrs. Radabe trying to teach addition with 5 books and pieces of cardboard. Elon listens without interrupting. Errol can picture him in his office, probably standing by the window that looks out over the SpaceX factory floor. "These kids remind me of you when you were young," Errol continues, "always asking questions, always wanting to understand how things work. But they have nothing, son. Nothing." There's a long pause on the other end of the line. Errol wonders if the connection has been lost. "Tell me about them," Elon says finally. "The children. Tell me their names." So Errol does. He tells Elon about Thabo, the 8-year-old who builds small machines from bottle caps and wire he finds around the village. How the boy's eyes lit up when Errol mentioned computers and rockets. He describes Amara, the 10-year-old girl who dreams of becoming a scientist but has never seen a microscope. She told Mrs. Radaby she wants to study the stars, but she's never looked through a telescope. And Kofi, the 12-year-old who draws pictures of rockets because he wants to reach the moon. "Because it's there," the boy had said, "and because no one from our village has ever been there." "There's something else," Errol says. "Something that reminded me of you even more." "What?" "This boy, Thabo. After school, I watched him build something. He found an old radio that didn't work, spent 2 hours taking it apart and putting it back together. When he was done, it worked perfectly." Errol hears a sharp intake of breath from his son. He's 8 years old, Elon. 8. And he fixed that radio like he'd been doing electronics his whole life. What did he say when you asked him how he knew how to do it? He said he just looked at the parts until he understood how they were supposed to connect. Said it made sense to him. Another long pause. "Dad," Elon says slowly, "do you remember when I was 9? When I took apart our computer?" Errol smiles, remembering. "You wanted to see how it worked. Your mother was furious because it was the only computer we had. But you helped me put it back together. You said I had a gift for understanding how things worked. You did. You do. These children have the same gift, don't they?" "Yes," Errol says. "But unlike you, they don't have computers to take apart. They don't have books to read or teachers with proper supplies. They're brilliant, Elon, but they're trapped." Errol hears the sound of a chair creaking. He imagines his son sitting down, the way he always does when he's thinking hard about a problem. "What do you want to do?" Elon asks quietly. "I made them a promise," Errol says. "I told them I'd come back with something that would change their lives. But I don't know what. I'm not you, Elon. I don't have your resources or your vision or your ability to make impossible things happen. Dad, I keep thinking about that boy fixing the radio, about the girl who wants to study stars, about all of them, sitting on that concrete floor, hungry to learn, but with nothing to learn from." Errol's voice breaks slightly. "I wasn't always there for you and your siblings when you were growing up. I know that. But maybe I can be there for these children." The silence stretches for nearly a minute. When Elon finally speaks, his voice is soft. "Maybe you don't need to be me," he says. "Maybe you just need to be their grandfather." The word hits Errol like a physical blow. Grandfather. He thinks about how he missed too many school plays, too many soccer games, too many moments when his own children needed him. Here's a chance to do better. "I want to help," Elon says suddenly. "But I have one condition." "What?" "We do this together. You and me." Errol feels tears in his eyes. "Really?" "Dad, I've spent years trying to solve big problems. Climate change, space exploration, sustainable energy. But I've never had a chance to work on something like this. Something that starts small but could change everything." "What do you mean?" "These kids deserve a chance. Every child deserves a chance. And maybe this is our chance too. Our chance to work together on something that really matters. Over the next hour, they talk about possibilities. Elon asks dozens of questions about the village, the school, the children. He wants to know about their families, their dreams, what they need most. We can't just throw money at this, Elon says. That doesn't work. We need to build something sustainable, something that will last long after we're gone. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about a school, but not just any school. A place where children can learn by doing, where they can build things and experiment and discover how the world works. Errol can hear the excitement growing in his son's voice. This is how Elon sounds when he's solving a problem that matters to him. We start with Mamelodi East, Elon continues. We create something amazing there. Then we use it as a model for other villages across Africa, maybe across the world. That sounds expensive. Dad, do you know how much it costs to train one astronaut? No. Millions of dollars. Years of preparation. What if we could start that training in childhood? What if we could identify brilliant kids early and give them the tools they need to reach their potential? Errol is beginning to understand. You're not talking about charity. You're talking about investment. Exactly. Investment in the future. Investment in the next generation of scientists and engineers and explorers. They talk until the sun comes. Up in South Africa, they make plans that sound impossible and dreams that seem too big, but they also make a commitment. I'll fly out next week, Elon says. I want to meet these children. I want to see the village. And I want to start building something that will change their lives. Really? Dad, you made them a promise. Now let's keep it. After Errol hangs up, he sits in his study as morning light streams through the windows. For the first time in years, he feels like he and his son are truly working toward the same goal. Meanwhile, in Mamelodi East, Thabo sits outside his grandmother's house, looking at the stars that are fading in the dawn sky. He's built a new telescope. From a toilet paper tube and some old glass he found, it doesn't work very well, but he can see the moon a little better. What are you doing, child? Namsa asks, bringing him a cup of tea. Looking for answers, Thabo says. What questions? All of them, grandmother. All of them. Namsa sits beside her grandson. She remembers her own childhood, when she dreamed of learning to read but never got the chance. Now she watches this boy reach for the stars with nothing but cardboard and hope. That man who came to visit, she says. He had kind eyes. Do you think he'll really come back? Thabo asks. Namsa thinks about the promise Errol made. She's heard many promises from many visitors over the years. Most of them are forgotten as soon as the dust settles behind their cars. But something about this man felt different. I think, she says slowly, that sometimes the universe sends us exactly what we need. Exactly when we need it. Thabo nods and goes back to looking through his homemade telescope. He doesn't know that at this very moment, two of the world's most brilliant minds are working on a plan that will turn his small village into something extraordinary. The next morning, Mrs. Radebi arrives at school to find a package waiting by the door. Inside are 32 new notebooks, a box of pencils, and enough paper to last a month. There's no note, but somehow she knows this is just the beginning. Children, she announces when class starts. I think our visitor meant what he said, as the children open their new notebooks and hold real pencils for the first time in months. None of them can imagine what's coming next, but they're about to find out. 2 weeks later, The rumble of truck engines breaks the morning quiet of Mamelody, East. Thabo drops his new pencil and runs to the window of the school. Through the plastic sheet, he sees not one vehicle, but 5 big trucks rolling down the dusty path. "Mrs. Radabay!" Amara calls out. "The trucks are coming!" All 32 children crowd around the windows. They've never seen so many vehicles in their village at once. The trucks are different colors, white, blue, red, and they're much bigger than the Land Rover that brought the first visitor. "Children, stay calm," Mrs. Radebe says, but her own voice sounds excited. She recognizes the tall man stepping out of the first truck. It's Errol, the visitor who left the notebooks and pencils. But this time, he's not alone. A younger man climbs out of the red truck. He's wearing a simple black t-shirt and blue jeans. Nothing fancy, but there's something about him that makes people stop and stare. Maybe it's the way he looks around with curious, intelligent eyes. Maybe it's how he stands, like someone used to solving big problems. Children pour out of their houses. Parents follow, wiping their hands on aprons and work clothes. Even the chickens seem interested, clucking and gathering around the trucks. Thabo runs outside, his grandmother Nomsa close behind him. Other children from the school follow. Amara with her new notebook still in her hand, Kofi carrying the pencil he's been using to draw better rocket designs. "Children," Errol calls out, his voice carrying across the small crowd. "I told you I would come back. I want you to meet my son." The younger man steps forward. He has kind eyes like his father, but they're sharper somehow, more focused. "Hello," he says simply. "I'm Elon." The name means nothing to most of the children. To them, he's just another visitor. But Mrs. Radebe catches her breath. She studied at university. She knows that name. "I heard you like to build things," Elon continues, looking directly at Thabo. Thabo nods shyly. "Sometimes, but we don't have much to build with." Elon smiles, the same gentle smile his father has. "Well, that's about to change." He signals to the truck drivers. The engines shut off, and men begin climbing out of each vehicle. But these aren't ordinary delivery men. They're wearing SpaceX t-shirts and Tesla caps. Some carry toolboxes. Others have clipboards and measuring tapes. "We're not here to give you technology," Elon explains to the growing crowd of villagers. "We're here to help you create it." The trucks begin to unload, but what comes out surprises everyone. There are no fancy computers or expensive machines. Instead, there are simple materials: wooden boards, metal pipes, hammers, screwdrivers, spools of colorful wire, small batteries, and tiny electric motors, boxes of basic tools, bins full of screws and bolts, coils of copper wire, simple electronic components that don't look like much by themselves. "I don't understand," says Mr. Zungu, who owns the radio that Thabo fixed. "What is all this for?" "We're building a laboratory," Errol says, "a place where these children can learn by doing. A place where they can turn their ideas into real things." Mrs. Radebe steps forward, looking confused. "But sir, we don't even have proper desks or enough books for everyone." "Those are coming too," Elon says. "Tomorrow, actually. But first, we want to show these kids that they can make anything they can imagine." He picks up a small electric motor and holds it up. "Who knows what this is?" Several hands shoot up. Kofi answers first. "It's a motor. It makes things spin." "Exactly right. And what could you build with a motor that spins?" "A fan," calls out Amara. "A toy car," shouts another child. "A washing machine," suggests Naledi. Elon's smile grows bigger. All of those things, and more. Today, We're going to build some of them together." What happens next feels like magic to the children. Elon and his team don't just hand out instructions. They work alongside the children and their parents, showing them how to use tools safely, how to connect wires, how to solve problems when things don't work the first time. Thabo finds himself working with a real SpaceX engineer named Maria. She shows him how to connect a battery, a switch, and a small light bulb. When the bulb glows for the first time, Thabo's hands shake with excitement. "I did it!" he shouts. "I made light from electricity." "You did," Maria agrees. "You're an engineer now." Amara teams up with another engineer to build a simple microscope, using water drops and clear plastic. When she looks through it for the first time and sees tiny details she's never noticed before, she gasps. "I can see the world differently now," she whispers. Kofi works with Elon himself to build a small rocket using a plastic bottle, baking soda, and vinegar. It's not a real rocket. It won't go to space. But when they launch it, and it flies 30 feet into the air, Kofi jumps up and down. It flew. It really flew. "That's how all rockets start," Elon tells him, "with someone who believes they can fly." As the day goes on, amazing things happen all around the village. Children who have never touched electronic equipment successfully build working radios. Kids who have never used real tools create moving toys with wheels and gears. Parents join in too. Mr. Zungu helps his daughter build a better antenna for their family radio. Mrs. Dlamini learns to use a screwdriver and helps construct a solar-powered fan. Even Nomsa, despite her bent back and tired hands, works alongside Thabo to build a small lamp that can charge during the day and provide light at night. "This is better than any gift," she tells Errol, as they watch Thabo explaining circuits to younger children. "You're giving them the ability to create gifts for themselves." As the sun begins to set, the children and adults gather around a small fire in the center of the village. But tonight, the fire isn't the only source of light. Small lamps and LED displays that the children built themselves twinkle all around. Mt. Elon sits on the ground with the children, not like a rich and famous man, but like a teacher and friend. "Why are you doing this?" Thabo asks him. It's the question that's been on everyone's mind all day. Elon thinks for a moment. "Because every child deserves a chance to reach for the stars," he says, "and because I believe you will." "But we're just kids from a poor village," Amara says quietly. "So was I, in a way," Elon replies. "I grew up not far from here, in South Africa, just like you. And I learned that where you start doesn't matter. What matters is that you never stop learning, never stop building, never stop dreaming." "Yoda, you always know you would build rockets?" Kofi asks. "No," Elon says honestly. "When I was your age, I just liked taking things apart to see how they worked. Just like Thabo does. Just like all of you do." Mrs. Radibi has been quiet most of the day, watching everything with amazement. Now she speaks up. "Mr. Musk," she says, "this is wonderful. But what happens tomorrow? When you leave and we go back to our regular lessons?" Errol and Elon exchange a look. The same mysterious look they shared when they first arrived. "Tomorrow," Errol announces, "we start building something bigger." "What?" the children ask together. Elon stands up and brushes the dust off his jeans. He looks around at all the faces lit by firelight and the glow of the devices the children built. "You'll see," he says with a mysterious smile. "But I promise you this. It's going to be something that changes not just your village, but your entire future." As the Musks and their team prepare to leave for the night, Thabo runs up to Elon. "Mr. Elon," he says, My grandmother says you're famous. Are you? Elon kneels down to Thabo's level. That's not important, he says. What's important is what we're going to build together. But what are we really building? Thabo asks. It's something big, isn't it? Elon looks at this 8-year-old boy who fixed a radio, built his first circuit, and dreams of understanding how everything works. Yes, Thabo, he says quietly. It's something very big. Something that will help you and your friends reach places you've only dreamed about. Like space? Elon's smile is full of secrets and promises. Like space. As their vehicles disappear into the night, red dust swirling behind them, the children of Mamelody East go to sleep, surrounded by the small lights and devices they built with their own hands. They know something extraordinary is beginning. They can feel it in the air, in the excitement of their parents, in the way Mrs. Radaby keeps smiling at nothing. But none of them, not even the brightest among them, can imagine what Elon and Errol are really planning. The secret project that will change their village forever is about to begin. The next morning brings even more trucks. Thabo counts them as they roll into the village. 8 this time. But these trucks carry different supplies. He sees solar panels catching the sunlight, computer parts wrapped in plastic, and strange metal pieces that he can't identify. Elon and Errol return with a team that's twice as big as yesterday. But these aren't just any workers. They're engineers from SpaceX and Tesla who took vacation days to volunteer for this special project. Some carry clipboards with detailed drawings. Others have measuring tools and surveying equipment. Gather around, everyone, Elon calls to the children who are running from their houses. Today we start building something that's never been built before. He pulls out a tablet computer and shows them drawings and plans. The children crowd around, their eyes wide as they try to understand the images on the screen. The drawings show a series of connected buildings, all sleek and modern. Solar panels cover every roof. There are large windows and covered walkways connecting different sections. It looks like a school, Amara says, squinting at the plans. But different. Very different, Elon agrees. This isn't just any school. This is going to be a place where you can learn anything you want to learn, build anything you want to build, and dream bigger than you ever thought possible. Mrs. Radaby studies the plans over the children's shoulders. She sees classrooms, but also workshops and laboratories, libraries with comfortable reading areas, computer rooms with dozens of workstations. How long will this take to build? She asks. 6 weeks, says Maria, the SpaceX engineer who worked with Thabo yesterday. We're bringing in construction crews from Johannesburg and Cape Town, but the children will help with every step. What's that round building? Kofi asks, pointing to one section of the plans that looks different from the rest. It's a large circular structure connected to the main buildings by a covered walkway. The drawing shows it has a domed roof and no windows. It's the biggest single building in the entire complex. Elon and Errol exchange another one of their mysterious looks. That, Errol says with a smile, is a surprise. What kind of surprise? Thabo asks. The best kind, Elon says. The kind that's worth waiting for. Construction begins that very morning. But this isn't like any building project the village has ever seen. The children don't just watch from the sidelines. They become part of the construction crew. Thabo discovers he has a natural gift for understanding electrical systems. Under the guidance of Tesla engineers, he learns to read wiring diagrams and helps install the solar panels that will power the entire complex. See this wire? Maria shows him. It carries electricity from the solar panel to the battery system. Why? Does it go this way instead of straight across? Thabo asks. Good question. What do you think? Thabo studies the setup for a moment. Because if it went straight, it would block the sunlight from reaching the next panel? Exactly right. You're thinking like an engineer. Amara works with a scientist from the University of Cape Town to plan the laboratory where she'll soon be able to conduct real experiments. They discuss what equipment she'll need to study plants, rocks, and even tiny organisms too small to see without special microscopes. What's the most powerful microscope you've ever used? The scientist asks her. I made one yesterday with a water drop, Amara says proudly. That's brilliant. Today, let me show you one that can see things 1,000 times smaller. Kofi joins the team building the mysterious round structure. It's made of special metal that doesn't rust and has thick walls. There's a large door that looks like it belongs on a bank vault, but its purpose remains a secret. What do you think this building is for? Kofi asks one of the construction workers. The worker just smiles and shrugs. Above my pay grade, kid. But I've been building things for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like it. As the days pass, word of the project spreads beyond Mamelody East. Reporters try to visit, but Elon politely asks them to stay away until the project is finished. This is about the children, he tells a journalist from Johannesburg, not about publicity. When we're ready, we'll show the world what these kids are capable of. Some officials from the government come to check on the project. They want to make sure all the proper permits have been filed and all the rules are being followed. Elon meets with them privately in the village's small community center. Whatever he says during that meeting, the officials leave satisfied and even excited. One of them is heard telling another, "If this works, we need to do it in every province." The changes in the village go beyond just construction. Parents who never imagined their children could have such opportunities begin to dream again about their futures. Namsa starts attending evening literacy classes that Mrs. Radebi organizes for adults. If my grandson is going to be an engineer, she says, his grandmother should know how to read about engineering. Mr. Zungu quits his job washing dishes at a restaurant in Pretoria and starts working on the construction crew. He wants to learn new skills and be part of building his daughter's future. But not everyone is happy about the changes. A government inspector arrives one morning, demanding to know why such a large project wasn't approved through all the proper channels. He threatens to shut down construction until more paperwork is filed. Elon speaks with him for an hour. No one knows what they discuss, but the inspector leaves with a smile on his face and a promise that the work can continue. Some people from neighboring villages express jealousy and concern. Why should Mamelody East get all this attention and investment? What makes these children more deserving than children in other poor villages? Elon and Errol hold a community meeting to address these concerns. This is not the end, Elon tells the crowd of villagers from 5 different communities. This is the beginning. If this project succeeds, if these children show what's possible, we'll help other villages too. We'll create a network of schools like this across South Africa, across the world. But why start here? Asks a teacher from a nearby village. Because, Errol says, every journey begins with a single step. Mamelody East is our first step. 3 weeks into construction, something unexpected happens that changes everything. Thabo approaches Elon with a problem. The boy has been studying the electrical plans for the solar power system, trying to understand how everything connects. "Mr. Elon," he says, "I've been thinking about the power storage." "What about it?" "I think there's a better way to store the energy from the solar panels." Thabo shows Elon a drawing he's made, crude but detailed, of a battery system using materials that are available locally. The design would be cheaper to maintain and easier to repair than the complex system originally planned. Elon stares at the drawing. This 8-year-old boy has just suggested an improvement to a system designed by some of the best engineers in the world. "Show me how you thought of this," Elon says. As Thabo explains his reasoning, pointing to different parts of his drawing, Elon realizes something profound. This child isn't just learning from them. He's innovating. He's taking what he's learned and making it better. "You know what?" Elon says. "You're right. Your design is actually better than ours." "Really? Really? We're going to use your idea." That night, Elon calls a meeting with his entire team of engineers and construction workers. "We need to change our approach," he tells them. "We came here thinking we were teachers, but these kids are going to teach us things too." "What do you mean?" asks Maria. "I mean, we stop thinking of them as students who need to be taught everything. We start thinking of them as partners who can contribute ideas and solutions." The next day, construction takes on a completely new energy. The children become full partners in the project, not just helpers. Their ideas are listened to, discussed, and often implemented. Amara suggests a rainwater collection system that's both simpler and more effective than what was originally planned. Her design uses gravity and simple filters instead of expensive pumps and complex purification systems. Kofi figures out how to use local clay and stones to make the buildings more resistant to earthquakes. His solution is inspired by traditional building methods his grandfather taught him. Other children contribute in their own ways. Naledi designs a system for organizing tools that makes the workshop more efficient. Mandla suggests improvements to the playground equipment that make it safer and more fun. Each discovery builds on the last. Each child's success encourages others to think creatively and suggest their own improvements. As the buildings near completion, excitement in the village reaches a fever pitch. The structures are beautiful, modern, but somehow fitting perfectly into the landscape. The solar panels gleam in the African sun. The workshops and classrooms are filled with natural light. But everyone's attention keeps returning to the mysterious round building. It's almost finished now, but its door remains locked. No one except Elon, Errol, and a few key engineers have been inside. "When will you tell us what it is?" Thabo asks, for what must be the 100th time. "Soon," Elon promises. "Very soon. But can't you give us a hint?" Elon kneels down, so he's at eye level with Thabo. "I'll tell you this much. What's in that building will help you reach for the stars. Literally." "You mean like rockets?" "I mean like everything that makes rockets possible. Everything that makes space exploration possible. Everything that makes dreams come true. But first, there's something else he needs to do. Something that will make this project truly special and ensure it lasts long after he and his father are gone. The children don't know it yet, but Elon has one more surprise. A surprise that will make their dreams of reaching the stars seem not just possible, but inevitable. The day of the grand opening is only 1 week away. The day of the grand opening arrives with clear blue skies and warm sunshine. The entire village of Mamelody East has been awake since dawn, preparing for what everyone knows will be the most important day in their community's history. Children wear their best clothes, some new outfits that parents bought specially for today, others clean and carefully patched garments that represent their family's pride. Adults have been cooking traditional foods all morning. The smell of fresh bread and spiced vegetables fills the air. But it's not just the villagers who are excited. Cars and buses have been arriving since early morning, bringing visitors from across South Africa. Government officials from Pretoria sit alongside teachers from universities in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Representatives from companies like Google and Samsung have flown in to see what everyone is talking about. The media is here too, despite Elon's earlier requests for privacy. Television cameras and newspaper reporters gather around the entrance to the new school complex. But they're kept at a respectful distance until the children have their moment first. Elon stands before the crowd that has gathered in the central courtyard of the new complex. His father Errol is beside him, along with Mrs. Radebi and the other teachers who will run the school. But everyone's attention is on the children. Thabo, Amara, Kofi, and all the others who have worked so hard to make this day possible. Before we show you what we've built together, Elon begins, his voice carrying clearly across the courtyard. I want to tell you a story. The children sit cross-legged on the ground in the front row, listening intently. Behind them, their families, and the other visitors settle in to hear what the famous inventor has to say. When I was a boy, not much older than you, Elon continues, I lived not far from here. I dreamed of building rockets and exploring space. I dreamed of creating things that would help humanity reach the stars. He pauses, looking at each child's face. But people told me it was impossible. They said a boy from Africa could never achieve such big dreams. They said space was for other people, people from richer countries, people with more advantages. Thabo raises his hand. But you did it anyway. Yes, I did. But do you know what helped me the most? What? Several children asked together. I had access to books, to computers, to teachers who encouraged me to ask questions and build things and never stop learning. You deserve the same chances I had. You deserve better. Errol steps forward. This project started because I saw something special in each of you. But it became something more when my son and I realized we had a chance to heal old wounds and build something beautiful together. And, he continues, his voice thick with emotion, we realized we had a chance to show the world what South African children can achieve when they're given the tools they need. The crowd murmurs softly. They can feel that something important is about to happen. Now, Elon says, let me show you what we've built. They begin the tour with the main classroom building. The rooms are bright and spacious, with large windows that let in natural light. Each classroom has comfortable desks and chairs for every student. The walls are lined with books, thousands of them in English, Afrikaans, Zulu, and other languages. The children gasp when they see the library. It's bigger than most of the houses in the village, filled with books on every subject imaginable. There are comfortable reading chairs and quiet study areas. Computer stations line one wall, all connected. To high-speed internet, this is where you'll read about the world, Mrs. Radebi tells the children, and where you'll write your own stories to share with the world. Next, they visit the science laboratory. It's equipped with microscopes that can see tiny bacteria and viruses. There are chemistry sets for safe experiments, rock and mineral collections for geology studies, even a small telescope for observing the night sky. Amara walks around the lab with wonder in her eyes. I can really do real science here? Real science, confirms Dr. Peterson, the university scientist who helped design the lab. The same kind of experiments that scientists do all around the world. The workshop is equally impressive. It has every tool a young inventor could need. 3D printers for creating prototypes, electronic components for building circuits and robots, wood and metal working areas for construction projects. Kofi picks up a precision screwdriver and examines it carefully. This is better than anything I've ever used. Because you're going to build better things than you've ever imagined, Elon tells him. But even with all these amazing facilities, Everyone's eyes keep drifting to the mysterious round building. They've saved it for last, and the anticipation is almost unbearable. Finally, they gather around it. The metal door remains closed, and no one except Elon and a few key people have seen what's inside. This, Elon says, his hand on the heavy door, is the heart of everything we've built here. He looks at Thabo, Amara, Kofi, and all the other children who have worked so hard to get to this moment. You asked me why I came here. You asked what I'm really trying to do. The answer is behind this door. The crowd falls completely silent. Even the adults hold their breath. Elon enters a code on a digital keypad. The heavy door slides open with a soft mechanical hiss. Inside is darkness for a moment. Then, gradually, lights begin to glow, revealing something that takes everyone's breath away. It's a planetarium, but not just any planetarium. It's a perfect replica of SpaceX's mission control room, combined with a three-dimensional projection system that can display the entire universe. The domed ceiling comes alive with stars, planets, and galaxies. The walls show real-time data from actual SpaceX missions, NASA projects, and space agencies around the world. In the center of the room are control consoles, just like the ones used to launch rockets into space. This, Elon says, his voice filled with emotion, is your window to the universe. The children stand in complete wonder, their faces lit by the glow of distant stars projected all around them. Some reach up as if they could touch the planets floating above their heads. But that's not all, Errol adds. He presses a button on one of the control panels. Suddenly, the room transforms. They're no longer in South Africa. They're standing on the surface of Mars, looking up at two moons in an alien red sky. The ground beneath their feet looks rocky and dusty, just like the real Martian surface. Then the scene changes again. They're floating in the International Space Station, looking down at Earth through a massive window. They can see Africa, their continent, spinning slowly below them. Another change, and they're watching the launch of a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket from the perspective of the astronauts inside. The room fills with the sound of engines and the excitement of mission control counting down. Every child who comes through this program, Elon explains as the cosmic show continues around them, will spend time in this room. You'll learn about space, about science, about the possibilities that exist beyond our planet. You'll practice using the same systems that real astronauts use. You'll learn to think like space explorers. You'll understand how rockets work and how to navigate between planets. Thabo raises his hand, still staring at the stars above. His voice is barely a whisper. Does this mean we can really become astronauts? Elon kneels down to his level, bringing himself to the same height as the 8-year-old boy who has become the heart of this project. Thabo, I'm going to make you a promise. If you complete the program we're creating here, if you work hard and never give up on your dreams, I will personally ensure that you have a chance to apply for astronaut training with SpaceX. The room falls completely silent. The only sound is the gentle hum of the projection equipment. I'm making that same promise to every child here. Elon continues, his voice growing stronger. This isn't just a school. It's a pipeline to the stars. Amara steps forward, tears streaming down her face. You mean we could really go to space? Not just go to space, Elon says, standing up to address all the children. Help explore it. Help colonize Mars. Help make humanity a multi-planetary species. The implications sink in slowly. These children from a small village in South Africa could actually become part of humanity's greatest adventure. Mrs. Radibi speaks up, her voice shaking with emotion. But how? How do we prepare them for something so big? Errol answers, "We've designed a complete education program. It combines traditional subjects like math and science with hands-on engineering, computer programming, leadership training, and space science." The program takes 5 years to complete, Elon adds, and every graduate will receive a full scholarship to university, plus guaranteed internships at SpaceX, Tesla, or other leading technology companies around the world. The crowd erupts in celebration. Parents hug their children. Adults who have never dared to dream so big suddenly see infinite possibilities for their families. But Elon raises his hand for quiet. He's not finished yet. "There's one more thing," he says. "This program doesn't end with you. Each of you will be expected to come back and teach the next generation. This village is going to become a center for space education and technology development that will serve all of Africa." He pauses, looking around at the faces filled with hope and wonder. "We're not just changing your lives. We're starting a movement that will spread across Africa and around the world. 20 years from now, when the first permanent colonies are established on Mars, some of the people living there will have started their journey right here in Mamelody East." As the celebration continues around them, Thabo pulls his grandmother aside. "Grandmother," he whispers, "do you think I can really become an astronaut?" Namsa looks at her grandson, then at the stars still glowing on the planetarium ceiling, then at all the sophisticated equipment that will help him learn. "Child," she says, "a few months ago, you were drawing math problems in the dirt with a stick. Today, you helped build this place. Tomorrow—" She smiles through her tears. "Tomorrow, you can reach for any star you want." That night, as the village Hyperloop celebrates its transformation under the real stars, Elon and Errol sit together on the steps of the new school. "Thank you," Errol says quietly. "For what?" "For helping me keep a promise, for giving me a chance to be a better father and grandfather, even if it's late in life." Elon puts his hand on his father's shoulder. "It's never too late to change the world, Dad. And it's never too late for us." They sit in comfortable silence, watching the same stars that Thabo had tried to see through his homemade telescope just months before. Neither of them knows it yet, but in 15 years, Thabo will indeed become the first person from his village to go to space. Amara will discover a new method for growing food on Mars. Kofi will design the rockets that carry the first permanent colonists to the Red Planet. But that story is still to be written. Tonight, it's enough that the stars seem close enough to touch. 1 year later, the Mamelody East Space Academy hosts its first graduation ceremony. Not graduation from the full program, that takes 5 years, but graduation from the first level of training. The small village has transformed completely. The dusty paths are now paved walkways lined with solar-powered streetlights. Gardens bloom around every building, planted and tended by students learning about sustainable agriculture. The old one-room school still stands, but now it's a museum showing visitors how far the community has come. Thabo, now 9 years old, stands before a panel of SpaceX engineers presenting his design for a more efficient solar panel system. His hands don't shake anymore when he speaks to adults. His voice is clear and confident. "The problem with current solar panels," he explains, pointing to his drawings, "is that they waste energy when the sun isn't directly overhead. My design uses mirrors to redirect sunlight, increasing efficiency by 30%. The engineers lean forward, studying his work. These are some of the smartest people in the world, and they're genuinely impressed by what a 9-year-old has created. "How did you test this theory?" asks Dr. Martinez, SpaceX's head of energy systems. "I built a small model using materials from our workshop," Thabo says. Would you like to see it work? He demonstrates his solar panel system using a flashlight and small mirrors. The panel produces noticeably more electricity when his mirrors are positioned correctly. Remarkable, Dr. Martinez says. We'd like to test this design in our California facility. Amara has been growing plants using a hydroponic system she designed herself. Her greenhouse, built behind the main school building, produces fresh vegetables year-round using very little water. Traditional farming uses too much water for space colonies, she explains to Dr. Chen, a botanist from NASA. My system uses 90% less water and grows food 3 times faster. She shows off tomatoes, lettuce, and even small fruit trees growing in her carefully designed system. Everything is powered by solar energy and controlled by computers that monitor temperature, humidity, and nutrients. I'm already working with scientists at NASA about growing food on Mars, she adds proudly. They want to use my design in their research. Kofi has built and successfully launched a model rocket that reached an altitude of 500 meters, the highest ever achieved by a student at the Academy. But that's not his biggest accomplishment. I'm designing a reusable rocket system, he tells the visiting engineers, like the Falcon 9, but smaller and cheaper to build. His blueprints show a rocket that can land vertically after launching, just like SpaceX's real rockets. He's been working on the project for 6 months, testing different designs and learning from each failure. The key is the landing legs, he explains. They have to be strong enough to support the rocket, but light enough not to waste fuel. But Thabo, Amara, and Kofi aren't the only success stories. Naledi has designed a new type of water filter that can clean even the dirtiest water using only sunlight and materials found locally. Her invention is already being used in 3 neighboring villages. Mandla has created a solar-powered communication system that allows students to talk with children in other space academies that have been built across Africa. 6 new academies have opened in the past year, all using Mamelodi East as their model. Zuri has become an expert at programming computers and robots. She's created educational games that help younger children learn math and science while having fun. The changes go far beyond the children's individual achievements. Nomsa, Thabo's grandmother, has learned to read and write. She now helps manage the Academy's library and has started writing down the traditional stories of her people to preserve them for future generations. These stories connect us to our past, she explains to visitors, but my grandson's work connects us to our future. Mrs. Radebe has completed her master's degree in education through an online program funded by the Musk Foundation. She's become the Academy's head teacher and is developing curriculum for other space academies planned across Africa. We're not just teaching children, she says. We're training the teachers who will teach the next generation of space explorers. Parents who once worried about having enough food now dream of seeing their children walk on Mars. Mr. Zungu has started his own solar panel installation business, using skills he learned while working on the Academy's construction. Mrs. Delamini has become a certified computer technician and helps maintain the Academy's equipment. The ripple effects have spread far beyond the village. Applications to study at the Mamelodi East Space Academy come from across South Africa and neighboring countries. The selection process is rigorous, but it's based on potential and passion, not previous privilege or family wealth. Other technology companies have noticed what's happening. Google has partnered with the Academy to provide advanced computer systems and internet connectivity. Boeing is helping with aerospace engineering curriculum. The European Space Agency has offered internships for top students. Several major universities have created special scholarship programs specifically for Academy graduates. The University of Cape Town has established a Mamelodi East track that guarantees admission and full funding for any student who completes the 5-year program. But perhaps the most important change is in the children themselves. When visitors to Hades ask Thabo what he wants to be when he grows up, he doesn't just say astronaut anymore. He says space explorer and teacher. He's already helping train younger students who have joined the academy. I want to go to Mars, he explains, but I also want to come back and help other kids reach for the stars too. Amara doesn't just want to be a scientist. She wants to be the scientist who figures out how to make Mars habitable for millions of people. She's corresponding with researchers around the world, sharing her ideas about growing food in space. Kofi doesn't just want to build rockets. He wants to build the ships that will carry humanity to the stars. He spends hours in the planetarium, studying the distances between planets and designing spacecraft for long journeys. On the first anniversary of the Academy's opening, Elon returns for a special ceremony. But this time, he brings someone with him. A SpaceX astronaut who grew up in poverty and overcame incredible odds to reach space. I want you to meet someone, Elon tells the children gathered in the planetarium. This is Commander Sarah Chen. 2 years ago, she became the first person born in a refugee camp to walk on the moon. Commander Chen is a small woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. But when she speaks, everyone listens. I want each of you to understand something, she tells the children. The path from here to space is not easy. It requires years of hard work, countless failures, and the determination to keep going when others tell you to give up. She pauses, looking at their young faces bathed in the light of projected stars. But it's possible. I'm living proof. And in a few years, you'll be living proof too. She tells them about her childhood in a refugee camp in Thailand, where her family fled from war. About learning to read by candlelight because there was no electricity. About dreaming of becoming a scientist when she had never even seen a laboratory. The difference between a dream and a goal, she says, is a plan. You have a plan now. You have teachers, equipment, and opportunities that I never had. But most importantly, you have each other. After the ceremony, Elon walks through the academy with Thabo, Amara, and Kofi. The facilities have expanded since opening day. There are now dormitories for students from other villages, additional laboratories, and a new workshop where students are building a satellite that will actually be launched into orbit. Do you remember the first day I came here? Elon asks Thabo as they walk past the original school building. Yes. You asked why we wanted to reach the stars. What would you tell me now? Thabo thinks for a moment, looking up at the academy buildings around them. I'd tell you that we don't just want to reach them anymore. We want to make them home. As they walk, Elon notices something remarkable. The children don't treat him like a celebrity anymore. They treat him like a teacher, a mentor, a friend. They argue with his ideas, suggest improvements to his designs, challenge his assumptions. This is exactly what he hoped for. Mr. Elon, Amara says as they enter her greenhouse, I think your Mars colony plans are too small. Too small? Elon raises an eyebrow. Yes, you're planning for 1,000 people. But if we can really grow food the way I'm testing, we could support 10,000 people. Maybe more. Show me, Elon says. For the next hour, Amara explains her calculations and demonstrates her growing systems. Her ideas are bold and creative, building on everything she's learned, but pushing beyond what adults thought possible. You know what? Elon says finally. You're right. We need to think bigger. That evening, the entire village gathers for a celebration. There's music and dancing and traditional food. But there's also something new. Children giving presentations about their latest projects, their dreams for the future, their plans to change the world. A group of 8-year-olds presents their design for a moon base. 12-year-olds explain their ideas for mining asteroids. High school students share their research on making Mars' atmosphere breathable for humans. As the celebration winds down, Errol finds his son standing alone at the edge of the village, looking up at the stars. Regrets? Errol asks. About what? All. The money. All the time. All the resources we've put into this place. Some people think we could have used it more efficiently somewhere else. Elon shakes his head. Dad, do you know what the most expensive part of any space mission is? The rocket? The training. It takes years and millions of dollars to prepare someone for space. We're doing that training here, starting from childhood, at a fraction of the cost. He points to the academy buildings, glowing with warm light in the darkness. In 10 years, when the first graduates of this program walk on Mars, people will realize that this wasn't charity. This was an investment in humanity's future. Errol nods, then asks the question that's been on his mind for months. And us? What did we get out of it? Elon thinks about the relationship he's rebuilt with his father through this project, about the joy of seeing children discover their potential, about the knowledge that he's helped plant seeds that will grow long after he's gone. We got to be part of something bigger than ourselves, he says finally. We got to prove that where you start doesn't determine where you finish, and we got to keep a promise. As they prepare to leave the next morning, the children gather to say goodbye. But it doesn't feel like goodbye anymore. It feels like, see you soon. Thabo hands Elon a letter. This is for you to read on the plane, he says. Later, flying back to California, Elon opens the letter. It's written in careful handwriting with only a few spelling mistakes. Dear Mr. Elon, thank you for keeping your promise. You told us you would come back with something that would change our lives forever. You were right. But I think we changed your life too. My grandmother says that when you plant a tree, you don't do it for the shade you'll enjoy. You do it for the children who haven't been born yet. Thank you for planting trees in our village that will shade the whole world. Your friend who will see you on Mars. Thabo and Kosi P.S. I'm already designing the house I want to build there. Elon folds the letter carefully and puts it in his pocket. Outside the airplane window, the African landscape stretches to the horizon, dotted with small villages, where other children are now dreaming of reaching the stars. The Mamelodi East Space Academy is no longer unique. It's the first of many. The tree has been planted, and its seeds are spreading across the world. In 15 years, when Thabo takes his first steps on the Red Planet, he'll plant a small South African flag in the Martian soil. When reporters ask him how a boy from a small village became one of humanity's first Martian colonists, he'll smile and point to the stars. It started with a promise, he'll say. And promises, when kept by the right people, can change everything. Seepers, revolution that began in the red dust of Mamelodi East will have reached the red dust of Mars, and that will be just the beginning. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know in the comments below. If this story inspired you, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories like this one. We share tales of hope, innovation, and the power of believing in others' potential. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Stories like these remind us that kindness can change the world, and awareness of what's possible can inspire the next generation of dreamers and builders. Remember, every child deserves a chance to reach for the stars. Until next time, keep dreaming big and believing in the impossible.